Hello everyone, welcome back. I was in my local thrift store the other day and I don't only shop there for clothing, but I also look around if I see some nice fabrics. And I found that this dress, it's a jersey dress, and I really like the print on it. It has hibiscus flowers and I think the colors are good for summer and for fall. So I thought I can certainly make something out of this. But I also look is if there are some larger sizes. This is an extra large, so that I have enough fabric to make something out of it. So let's see what we can do with this. This summer I saw all kinds of two pieces with a skirt or with trousers, and I thought they were really cute. I didn't buy one, but I saw this one on Instagram. I think it was from Toby. And I think I'm gonna recreate it. The pattern of the fabric doesn't really match the one of my dress, but that doesn't matter. I like the way it looks. So I made my fabulous drawing on the right side. It's pretty simple, so I think it's pretty simple for you to recreate it, to make it. It's a skirt. I'll make it without a lining. I don't think I have even enough fabric to make a lining, so then it's even easier to make. A zipper in the back, a slit in the back, above knee length, and I don't make a waistband. This skirt doesn't have a waistband too, so we'll just put a band on the inside to cover the top. The top, now that I look at it, is almost the same as the bikini top we just made. So if you made that, then you're familiar with how we can make this. The only difference is I want to make princess seams on the top so that it will fit more nicely. And because we don't have elastic as we did in the bikini top, we're gonna make princess seams on the top. I like the cord elastic as shoulder straps. I don't know if I can find some, because normally they only have black or white cord elastic, but I can look for it, and otherwise we'll do some other elastic straps. As you see in my drawing, I want to make the back with elastic. I think I do 3 strands of elastic on the top, in the middle, and on the bottom of the top, so that it will fit nicely on the back, and then you don't have to do a zipper or buttons or snaps or whatever. I think that will make the top sit most nicely if we do it with elastic. So that's my design that I made. Well, I just cheated because I made it just exactly the same as the original, but we're gonna make this. So we're gonna start with the pattern for the skirt. It's pretty simple. If you've done my first video of pattern making, then you have your measurements already there. If you have not, I'll do a quick recap. You should measure your chest, your waist and your hips, and divide those measurements by 4, so we have all quarters. So for me, I measured the length of the skirt. I wanted to be 44 centimeters. So I marked the straight line of 44 centimeters. Then I mark my waist. That's for me a quarter of the measurements is 17 centimeters. My hips, a quarter is 22 centimeters, and I want to know how far my hips are down from my waist, because not everyone has his butt on the same height. So measure how far your hips are below your waist. For me that is 22 centimeters, so I mark 22 centimeters from the top. That's my hip waist, 22, and on top it's 17, and you make a curved line down to the end of 44 centimeters length. Then you double it, simply fold it together and cut it out, and then you have 1/2. For the back you must have 2, because you get a zipper and a slit. So what you can do is just cut it out for the front and cut it out for the back with some extra seam allowance, so that you can cut it in the middle through, and you have the seam allowance for the side and seam allowance for the middle. You can also cut the paper in 2 and cut 2 back pattern papers. That's just what you like. So that's for the skirt. For the top, what you saw, I placed the skirt on the top of the dress. This is the top. Oh, can't see it on the on the screen. because I noticed that I have plenty of room on the top of the dress, and on the bottom I don't have that much for my top, because I want the back of the top to be more wide, so I can scrunch it in for the elastic. So I'm gonna cut my top on the bottom of the dress and my skirt on the top of the dress. So the pattern for the top is pretty easy. It is just a rectangle which I have curved on the top because that looks nicer. So you measure your measurements not all the way around, but straight across over the biggest part of your bust. So from the side line of your top to the other side line of the top. For me that is 47 centimeters, and you make a rectangle out of that. And then you curve the top part of it, because that looks nicer. Then you have the beautiful curve on top of the top. I made mine 23 centimeters tall. You can measure on your own body what is a nice length of the top. I don't like it to be too cropped, so mine is almost touching the skirt now, and I like that measurement. So you can take whatever you like. So pretty simple. Cut the front part out of the fabric, if you can twice, because then you have lining. I don't know if it's possible. And the back part is the same rectangle without the curve, so straight, and with as much width of the fabric as you can get. If you can with lining, if you can, then you do the lining for the front and not for the back. If you've cut it out, then we're gonna start for the sewing part. Okay, so I cut everything out, and I got really lucky because I had more fabric than I had expected. I even thought that maybe I could make pockets for the skirt, but that was just not enough, so that was a shame. But I got the front skirt and the back skirt, and I cut the back skirt from the back seam of the dress. So this was the back seam, and I seam whipped the top for the zipper and the below for the bottom for the slit. So that was nice. Then I cut two strips for the facing, because we don't make a waistband. We're gonna put some fabric along the top, and we fold it inside the skirt as the facing for the skirt, and we're gonna stiffen this a bit so that we get a nice stiff top of the skirt without having a waistband. So I cut 2 times the top of the skirt, 1 time for the front and 1 for the back, so that we can sew this on top of it. So I cut that. Then I cut the top. The back was easy, it was just a rectangle, and I cut it along the side seam, so I have the front, I have the back and the lining together, because this was the side seam of the dress, so I don't have to sew that. I have lining for the back with the back together. And then I have the front of the top, and I already made the princess seams on it, so I'm gonna explain how you do that. When you've cut it out, you hold it against your chest, and it's easiest, I think, when you wear a strapless bra. You pin the sides to your strapless bra, and then you pinch in the fabric along your breast, so you get a kind of a curved line. It's not exactly a princess seam, but because I want this to be for beginners too, I made a modification so that it's a bit as a princess seam, but a bit easier to do. So you just hold it up against your chest, and you pinch the fabric all the way down, and you pin it down with your pins until it's all the way in the curve that your breast is. And you do that for your front and your left and your right. And then what you get, I marked it with a marker on my lining. I hope you can see it. You get a sort of a curved line. Here is the nipple, the apex we call it. So it goes like this, and then it goes in under your breast. So it's a curved line, and you get almost the same left and right. If you want to make this again, or something like this again, then you could make a pattern of it from paper, because then you can recreate it. So then you just trace this curved line as I draw it here on the paper, and the other side too, because here you have another curved line, and then you have a paper pattern of this, and then you can make it again or recreate it for something else. So you're gonna do this for the top, for the outer fabric, and for the lining. You're gonna sew that, those two princess seams on each layer. We're gonna sew the two pieces together on the top. If you don't have what I have, that's the lining and the outer part aren't together, then you're gonna sew here also the top seam. We're gonna do that, and we're gonna almost done when we're doing this. We're gonna sew the skirts, the front and the back, right sides together, as we know already. Right sides together. We're gonna sew the two side seams, and then we come back for the instructions for the next. So lots to do. Have fun. So we're gonna sew the princess seams. I have a jersey fabric, so I use a jersey needle, and I make my settings for jersey fabric. If you have that too, then make sure you adjust that. If you have just a normal cotton or normal fabric that's not stretchy, then you can do your normal settings and your normal needle, but be sure if you have jersey that you adjust it. At the start and at the end we do a back stitch, so don't forget it, so that your thread doesn't come loose. And then we're gonna sew. So now we're gonna sew the top of the top, and I put the straps in between so I can sew them all together on the top. All the sewing. Now we're going to put on the zipper. I made a basting stitch in the slit that I made before, so that it's tightened for now. Then you put your zipper with the teeth directly on the seam. Then you know your zipper is straight. Then you flip it over to the right side, and because your zipper is already secured with the pins, you can pin it down nicely around the seam. You sew it, and then you take out the basting stitch, and then you can open the zipper, and you have a nicely put in zipper. I ironed some interfacing on the lining for the top of the skirt, so we're going to sew that on the top, in front and on the back. And the back you have to cut it, wait, I'm not in frame, you have to cut it in two because of the zipper, so you're going to sew it all around the top with the side seams, and then you flip it over. Of course you do it right sides together, not like I show it now. Right side skirt, right side interfacing, of right side facing, but that's obvious. So we're gonna sew all around the lining. Then, well, when we've done that, we can also just finish it with finishing the slit with a small hem and hem along the bottom of the skirt. Then the skirt is finished. When we have sew this on, you just do a how is that stitch called in English? A straight stitch all around to finish it, to put it under, and then it looks very neat. So that's for the skirt. The top, as I said, I put the strings between the outer fabric and the lining. What is most nicely to do is when you have sewn your seams, whatever it's your skirt or your top or whatever, always iron them immediately. Then you get the most nicely finished fabric product, and it looks more professional when you do that. So always have an iron on hand to iron your seams immediately after you have done it. So when you have this, you iron, when you do the side seams, you iron, then it looks really nice. So I have the top double now in the front and the back, but now we're gonna sew the front and the back together. So you lay them open and you put the side seams together on one side. Make sure you align them really well here at the seams, because it's not nice when they are crooked. And we're gonna sew the side seams on one side, and then we flip it over, right sides together, and then we can sew the whole down part, the back and the front, and we can make the tunnels for the elastic. And we make one tunnel here, one tunnel here, and one in the middle. So measure how wide your elastic is, how wide your tunnels have to be, and middle this one exactly in the middle, so then it's most neat. So that's all we can do, and then we're almost finished. You only have to close the other side seam, but I'll show you when we have done all this. So I put the lining on. What I'm going to do now is, with my serger, I'm going to finish the whole top part of it, and then we're going to fold it in. First iron it so that it's really straight, neat seam, and then we fold it in, and then we overstitch the whole top part, and by hand you can finish this sides at the zipper, and you just sew it by hands on the zipper, and then you have a nicely finished top of the skirt without a waistband. When I make the tunnels, I'm going to take my elastic, see that you can see it, and I put it to the seam. This is the lower seam, and I put a pin so that I have enough room for the elastic to move in, so a little bit wider than the elastic is. I'm gonna measure how much that is. That's 2.5 centimeters. So pin down, all the way down, 2.5 centimeters, and I know for the tunnel on the top and the tunnel in the middle that I have to make the same width of tunnels. We're gonna sew that straight down, and then we're gonna feed in the elastic from the other side. So when you have sewn all the tunnels down the back, we have 3 tunnels, one on the top, on the middle, and one on the bottom. Then we're going to feed in our elastic, and you can do that easily with a safety pin. You just push it into the tunnel and you work it all the way to the other side of the tunnel where the front part begins. So you go all the way to the here, and then you're going to secure it so that it will be fastened here. And then you can see if I took the measurement of my back, so it's 42 centimeters, and when you have secured them on both sides, then you can see if you want the elastic to be a bit more tightened or not. So fit all 3 elastics in, tighten them, and then you can close the top just by sewing the 2 sides together. And you can do that by turning it on. Start with the lining and see if you can go all the way through. Sometimes it's possible, sometimes it's difficult. Then you can just do the other side by hand by folding it in and then sewing it by hand like this. And then your top is finished. So this is how it turned out. I really like how it looks with the fabric, with all the flowers. I didn't bought any two-piece because I wasn't sure if I would really like it, but I really like how this looks. I top stitched the top of the, oh there I'm focusing, the top of the skirt so that the lining stays nicely flat. I didn't do that on the top because I think it looks more expensive than when you see a top stitch down there and on the top. Then it looks more self-made, and I don't like it when my clothing looks self-made, although I'm proud that I can make it myself, but I think it must look as if you had bought it in a shop or whatever. I like the back with the gathering with the elastic. It looks very nice when you have it on, and I think it looks very pretty in the back. I stitched the straps just on the back. You can see it, you can do it inside, but with the elastic it was rather difficult to put it really between the lining and the outer fabric, so I did it just like that. And I think it looks really nice, so I'll show you how it looks when I have it on. Okay, so this is how it looks when it's on. I really like how it turned out. And so you can see when you have a dress that you don't like anymore, that doesn't fit anymore, you can make something else out of it. And I think it looks really nice. I like the gathering on the back. I think it looks really cute. I didn't know if I liked the two-piece thing, but I think it's really nice concept, and it looks really nice. Fits nice. You can see the curves that we made with the princess seams. Looks very flattering. Yes, I'm very happy with it. I hope yours turned out well too. I hope you liked this tutorial, and I'll see you next week. Bye!